Welcome to another Mind Brain Movies. I'm your Sherpa into the Mind Brain Hope. I am very on brand today for the topic that we're about to discuss. Before I jump into that, if you could just do us a favor and hit subscribe and like, leave a comment, leave us some love. We're a bunch of fun girls. We love your support. We do a lot, and yeah, we have a good time. So, anyways, I have my lovely cohorts with me. First off, I have my Boony Boon Boon,
Hi.
and off air, we discussed Liz's new quote unquote professional name, going to be Dr. Gremlin.
Mm-hmm.
Listen. I am a super professional person. We said we're gonna start recording at 1:30. I was fully ready to go. Does it matter that I finished watching the movie we're discussing today 4 minutes before we started recording? No, I was ready. Okay, I have my
Uh-huh.
questions. I am good to go.
Oh, so speaking of questions, before we tell the movie, so I was like, okay, I'm going to be the quote unquote professional today in this topic. I want you ladies to have questions ready for me. So Liz sends me this screenshot of her notebook, and it's just questions for Hope, and it's a blank page with one word, and it says, "Why?" I just, I was I was at work at the time, and I just stopped, I busted out laughing, and everyone is just staring at me like, "What is wrong with this girl?" And I'm like, I'm sorry, it's just the funniest thing ever." So,
Mm-hmm.
uh, so today while we get into this topic, we're gonna be talking about the movie Sunshine Cleaning. It is a movie directed by Christine Jeffs. It stars Amy Adams, Emily Blunt, and the late Alan Arkin. Um, it's a pretty, for the subject matter, it can be a kind of a light film, but it's still good. I picked this one today because I actually have, believe it or not, a background in crime scene cleaning. I did it for years and years, and every single time I would go, well, not every time, but a lot of times I would go to a site and be like, "Are you like that movie Sunshine Cleaning?"
Oh, that's cool.
And and at first I had never seen it, and I'm like, "I don't fucking know. Like, I'm just here to do my job, ma'am." And then finally, after so many times, I was like, "Alright, I'm gonna sit down and watch this so I can answer these damn questions."
Wait, how
Um,
old is the movie?
it was made in 2008.
Yeah, it's pretty old now.
So, neither of you had seen this before, correct?
No.
Mm-mm.
First thoughts, because I
Bro,
know the only
opening scene. I was like still half asleep and I was like, oh no, scheduling and stuff. Let me turn on the movie. First scene, and I was like, what is this movie, dude?
boom.
Yeah. I was like, I thought it was gonna be a lot darker. I felt like they sort of like closed over a lot of the darkness and the
Yeah, they
sadness
set it
that
up
can
to
happen in
be.
that field.
I thought it was gonna be like gorier. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, like I said, it's a very light film for the subject matter. I know that it is very family centric due to the circumstance of like it's about the two sisters and like the dad and the family, So it's family centric with like, there's a lot of correct things in the movie and a lot of not correct things in the movie that I can go into detail or not, depending. We can discuss, but um, Boone, what was your first reaction? Were you half asleep when you watched it too?
My first reaction was actually, how did you get into it? I'm so curious. Like, was it a similar pathway where like this is like an earlier version of? It reminds me of Breaking Bad. You have no other choice to make money. Use what you know.
So So no, crazy thing, I've been in the healthcare field my ma majority of my adulthood. I was a phlebotomist, I was a vet tech, I worked in physical therapy, I did pain management, I was a rad like, I did rad tech stuff, so I was always in medicine.
Hmm.
But a lot of the times I would get so frustrated with the red tape. I would see
Mm.
like, "Oh, well, you need this surgery. Well, you need to go through insurance or blah, 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 or you need physical therapy. Oh, but we can only get you 6 appointments even though you need like 50." I was just getting really fed up. And in my other podcasts that I do, my nickname is the horror whore. I've always loved horror. I've loved gore. I've loved Halloween. I like gross shit. And I honestly don't know how it came up, but, like, I had never in my mind thought about crime scene cleaning, and then I saw this, like, one video, it was, like, Odd Jobs, and I was like, "I'd be good at that. I'd be really good at that." And, like and then like, on a whim, like, I hadn't even planned on leaving the job I was currently at, and I just looked it up. I was like, crime scene cleaning in my area," and, like, it popped up, and I was like, "Oh, shit, I live 20 minutes from their place." So I was like, "Fuck it, why not?" And I just, like, applied, and they were like, "Oh, yeah, cool," and I'm like, "Oh, shit, okay." So so
Wait,
there
I'm
you go.
confused. Is that not the job that you have now? Is it
No,
different?
It's
no,
different.
Ah.
Doing lab
I
work.
work in I work in a lab overnights in the histology department.
What's
So I
this?
went back
What
to
is
healthcare. I went back to
uh,
healthcare.
okay. What's histology?
Basically, we take biopsies from the body and we will process them for to find out diseases like if it's cancerous or fungal or things like that. So we'll get like biopsies or cut up specimen, process it, put it under slides, blah blah blah.
You get like a
Listen.
family discount.
So,
A family discount?
Yeah. I don't know.
Um, you uh I get free blood work.
Really? That gets pretty pricey.
So if you wanna like marry me on paper real quick, Boone, I could get you free blood
Dude,
work.
you know how much I just paid for my blood work? I'm not telling you on the podcast, but it was a lot.
That is half the reason I have my job. Legit is the blood work because before I would go in like every other month for it, and I was like, and the best part, I'm like, oh, you know those special blood work cases? Put them on there. My doctor's like, but it's expensive. Like, not for me,
Yes, let's
bitch.
go. I feel
So
like
yeah, just
it's equivalent to if you worked at like Nordstrom or something, you can get everything for free. Like I want this, I want that, take everything, you know?
so yeah, just real quick, let's get married, Boone, and then we'll, just for medical
Any
purposes.
blood work for you, babe.
so I
Just handing out red tube tops everywhere.
Yes.
the wedding guest is just like, here, give me your blood.
Everyone gets like a locket of our blood at the reception.
Okay, this is getting a little too
It's so we could be with you forever.
So I didn't okay. I don't think we ever discussed your job like quite in detail. You've mentioned it like before. So I had this idea
Liz.
because my
No,
only
Liz.
yeah.
She's mentioned it in detail many times. Dr. Gremlin.
Look,
So
I think what she's getting at. I'm gonna translate Gremlinese. I'm gonna translate the Gremlinese. I think what she's saying is I've brought it up in a very light-hearted situation, and I've talked about like gross stories, but there's a lot behind the scenes that I typically don't talk about. I think the only podcast episode I've really gone into detail was, we did an episode on the Jeffrey Dahmer, miniseries on Netflix, and I went into detail on that, but I think that's the only time I've, like, really gotten into, like, the behind the scenes. Otherwise, I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I found gross stuff because that's what people ask. They're like, "Oh, look at
Mhm.
the gross stuff." I'm like, Yeah, well, that's, like, a sliver." But
Well, I had like in my head, I had this idea of you being sort of like part of like, you know, like an NCIS sort of unit where like you go to places and you do stuff. And then, because at one point I was texting you and I couldn't sleep for some reason. And then you were like, oh, I'm at the morgue or something. We're waiting for something. And then I was like, oh, cool. And in my head, I was like, oh, she's waiting for sample. Yeah, that totally makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, crime scene cleaning, waiting for things at the, yeah, yeah. Detective work. Yes. Yes. That is exactly
Now
what
she's
what
Batman.
like it matches like your job that I imagined you had. So I was like, yeah, that checks out.
Uh,
I don't think she
sure.
solves crimes.
I
No, no, no.
funny enough
She was
no, funny
adjacent
enough,
to that.
I have,
Really?
legit.
Oh.
Really?
Um,
Share, share.
let's just say so I started out when I was in Maryland. We serviced Maryland, DC, Virginia, Delaware, parts of New York, New Jersey, North Carolina, West Virginia. Like, we had a big area. And then I transferred down to Florida, and then I got transferred and promoted and, like, ran the state of Florida. Um,
Hmm.
and then I just got burnt out after a while, after you do that type of job for years. But no matter the same consistent thing, no matter where I went, no matter what state, no matter what job, me and the popo do not get along.
You are Batman.
Me and the popo do not get along. So,
I knew it.
that was a big thing with, also just to parallel, in Sunshine Cleaning, she would, like, show up to the scenes and be like, "Oh, before you get in, blah, blah, blah." I'm like, "That is not how that works. If we were to do that, we'd be kicked off, not called. Like, that is a big X, no, 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 no.
Mm.
You do not fucking do that." So, like, the first time I saw that, I was like, "Ugh, that's real bad." Like, you do market, you do go to places, but you don't just fucking show up, man. That's so tactless on top of everything, so tactless. Um, that's a big no-no. And another thing too is even if you show up on scene, it could take anywhere from hours to days for them to close the case, and you cannot touch a single
That's
goddamn
that's
thing.
what I was thinking. I'm like, how are they touching everything so quickly and cleaning and moving? We're done. Thanks for like
Dude,
what?
the finger was still in the sink when they started cleaning, and I was
That's
like,
the
wait,
crime.
isn't that
That's
like evidence
yeah,
or something?
yeah.
It depends. It depends.
Really?
Each case is completely different. It depends on the circumstance. And that's where so I started in Maryland, Baltimore, DC area.
Hmm.
One of the top crime rated places. Unfortunately, there's a correlation between budget for the police departments and closed cases.
Oh no.
Unfortunately, a lot of cases are ruled as ODs or suicides because
That's
it's technically a closed case. Um, we're talking about high crime rate areas, high minority areas.
I hate this.
They ruled as a closed case, means it's done, means they solved it, means it's budget, means they don't have to expend resources as well. Um, a lot of it's an ongoing thing. Again, we did not get along. Um, there's been times where there's one specific case I had where they were like, "Oh yeah, it was a suicide." And I was like, "Okay, so whenever you go onto a site, again, here's the parallels. In the movie, they just like went in, just started cleaning. Cool. It is a long and arduous process before we can even begin to clean. We have to is there insurance involved?
Mhm.
Is it through a house? Is it through a business? Is there next of kin? If there's any next to kin, we have to contact them. If there's that, then we have to say, um, are we doing just the area? Are we doing the house? Are we doing just the thing? Is there any items you need us to collect? It's long and arduous, and we take photos
Mm.
throughout the entirety of the process. One as it cover our ass, two as it
Yes.
cover your ass, and three for insurances. So we're taking photos every single part of the way through. And before we even begin to clean, we have to do estimates because I'd have to go in with my team. And you always have a team,
Yeah,
just
buddy
as we
system.
saw
Mhm.
perfectly in the movie.
Mhm.
Um, we So part of my job as like the supervisor, what I do is I would create the estimates. The team wouldn't. I would create the estimates because I have to go in and say I need these supplies. I need this amount of supplies. I need this amount of time. I need this amount of people. Sometimes I'd have to call in other teams
Mm.
for extra help. Um, I was like, I need this, this, and this. I'm gonna need, and sometimes like if it was a big enough job, I had to like call in dumpsters to clean
Oh,
it
that's
out.
crazy.
Sometimes one time I had to call in a sewage company and a water company because someone died in a hot tub. And we couldn't drain the water ourselves,
Oh,
you
shoot.
know. So sometimes you have to collab with all these different people, depending upon the situation. And that all goes into the estimate. So
Question.
again, that's just a glaze over. Go ahead.
I have two separate questions, but top 3 things. Top 3 weirdest deaths, and then top 3 craziest states to work with. Okay.
Uh, so craziest deaths. Um, so one of them I'd have to say is one I tell this story a lot. Is it was a shotgun suicide in a kitchen. The only reason it made it weird is because again, before we go in and start cleaning, we have to take photos. Take photo and shotgun suicides. There's a lot of splatter go everywhere. Um, and my sick fucking sense of humor because another thing that they don't tell you is your personality changes when you do this job.
Oh, for sure.
You it's a defense mechanism. You have to. Otherwise, you would literally be the next person you're cleaning up. Simple as that. I lost a lot of friends actually because they're like, you got really dark, you got really blunt, you got very, you know. I was like, look, if I didn't, I would be dead.
Mhm.
Simple as that.
Yes.
And that's another thing they don't talk about. They gloss over it. Like, it's not for everybody. It's not. That's why this job has the highest turnover rate like ever. Anyways, the reason why it was weird again, my sick sense of humor. I was in the kitchen. I get over to the cutting board, and there's like little slivers of like brain and little chunks of skull and everything, and it perfectly landed on the cutting board. And I was like, it's like a fucking charcuterie board. And like how it just laid out, it was like the meats and cheeses and crackers, like that's what it was. That's how it was, but like with brain and skull and like the hair and shit. I was like, it's a fucking charcuterie board. And with the guy I was working with at the time, he's like, "Oh my god, take a photo!" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm taking a photo." Like, uh, so yeah, um, but the there's weird things just because I don't know. I've done hundreds of thousands of jobs at this
Mm.
point. So I don't know what weird is
Oh, so
anymore.
cool. I love that.
Um, but the worst states, Florida by far. Not only for the decomp factor because we're one of the hotter states,
Mm, yeah.
but actually the insurances to work with here are horrible. Because you have different types of homeowners insurances in different states. The ones in Florida suck.
Oof.
So I would have to fight with insurances constantly. And that's another thing they don't tell you is like you have to fight with insurances. There's sometimes you're like, I need this, this, and this, and they're like, okay, we'll give you one thing, and I'm like, no.
Mhm.
And that's another thing I do on behalf of the person, the next of kin, whomever is you fight the insurances for them. You're not going to make them do it. I say, give me the policy, I'll handle it. Because
Mm.
that's the last thing they want to do is talk to the damn insurances.
So essentially, you're also sort of like advocating for them, not just cleaning and helping them, but you're also advocating for them.
Yeah,
Mm.
that's I think one of the best scenes in the movie when she sat down
Mhm.
with the wife. I cannot tell you how many times I've done that with clients. Um, on multiple levels. There's still some clients I have today that I still talk to.
Mhm.
Um, like they have my personal number and everything. Like still talk with them. There's because you have to make that connection. You have to make like first and foremost, I'm making sure they're okay because I don't want them to be the next person I'm cleaning up because
Mhm.
of this.
Yeah.
Whether it's I've had clients where like their parents passed and I was like, "You know what, bruh? Like, you know what, buddy? Like, you have some pent up like anger or sadness." I would like get a sledgehammer and like some old shit and I'm like, "Smash this.
Mm.
Let it out." And they'd be like, "Yeah," or if I just sat there and let them cry on my shoulder. That's a big part of the job that no one understands. And that takes a bigger toll on you than what people think. There's even been times where like I've patched up the next of kin because they were hurt and so I'm like sitting there with my med kit and patching them up because again I used to be a
Mhm.
phlebotomist and all that and shit and I'm like patching them up. So
This is so neat. Like seeing like all of us, I think we're helpers in different degrees in different fields, but like you are totally I'm going to give you a new title cuz you know how Liz has a new name now. you
Dr. Gremlin.
you you have another one now. You have one too. I'm going to call you the gore the gore angel. Like you're there.
The core angel, I love
Yeah.
that.
Cuz you're there to be in times of
Horror whore slash gore angel slash
you're in such a vulnerable, intimate, very specific time of someone's life where no one else would ever understand. But you've been in this world. You're like an angel in hell, really. You're walking around looking for people needing some extra light and healing, and that's what they need because they're surrounded by darkness, they're surrounded by pain. You are that attachment to make sure that they know that there's more on the other side. And that's so much like hope. There's so much hope there that you really do live out to embody your name. And so this is something that I think because I was resonating so much with you how we could get dark because I used to work for the county. We see the
Mhm.
darkness of society, the people that
Yep.
are so broken that don't get to see the light sometimes, and they're beyond the help sometimes. And it's like we need that one extra person to be like, I get it. Trust
Mhm.
me, I'm part of the crew here. You don't have to feel embarrassed about sharing with other people. You don't have to feel lost. You're help guiding people out of it too. There's so many things that you're doing
Right.
because of all the wealth of experience that you have. It's really amazing. I don't think I've ever met someone who's had the same experience as you in the fields that you do. Like it's the tangible healing, physical pain, but
We're the
also
first step. Yeah.
yeah, first responder, right? Um,
Yeah, we that oof. Trust me, when it was during the pandemic, I flaunted that first responder tag. I got so much free coffee from Wawa. I got so much.
You deserve
I was like,
it.
"Yeah, I'm a first responder. Give." I was like, "Skip the cups. Give me the tank."
Wait, I have a question. So, because this is something that, like, as I was watching, I realized, and I'm like, okay. So you mentioned that you're advocating for the clients as well, and I'm
Yes.
kind of almost betting that that's something you took upon yourself, not something that was completely required by the job.
Mm.
Yes.
And okay, not only that, but also I think that, that giving the phone number to other people to reach out to you and stuff, also something that's not part of the job, but that's something that I think enriches your job so much more. Did you ever get any training to do this or to handle the things that you will see and think
So
of
when
your
I
own health?
so funny thing, when I first started, like when I was just a trainee, I worked my way up. I was at the bottom and I worked my way up to running a state. Like I worked through it. Um, First chance at a promotion, I jumped at it because I had two bosses at the time. One I love and adore, still talk to this day. Kevin, I fucking love you. And another one who horrible, awful fucking man.
Mm.
Don't know how he had his job. No compassion, no nothing. Mm, heh. Won't say anymore. Um, and I had to work with both of them, to get both sides. Because the reason why the one guy was so good is because he had good rates of money. He would know how to finagle the job to get the most from insurances, basically, and
Hmm.
that's why he got promoted. You have a lot of people like that, unfortunately. Not everyone's and then on the other hand, Kevin, the joke is he was my work wife. I was the work husband. Um, and he and I got along so well. He was very spiritual, he was very caring. He was the one who was like, "I'll finagle it so you don't have to pay as much and we'll do this," and,
Mm.
and he was very like that as well, to go the extra step to help people, and I was like, "I'm gonna be more like this guy." Like, and
Hmm.
so finally, once I got the choice, I was like, "I'm gonna stick with him. I'm gonna be on his team." And the other guy's like, "Oh, but you're a good worker." I'm like, no, I'm gonna go with him." Uh, Also, as I am in hedgehog hair right now, um, I used to have long hair, and after a little bit, I shaved my head because I was always at like a full body hazmat suit. And I shaved my head and literally flip switch. The guy's like, "Yeah, you can go to the other side now." I was like, "Oh, sex as fuck. Okay, cut my hair.
Wow.
Now you don't want me.
Mm.
Cool, cool." I was like, "Even better for me, bro. Even better for me."
Mm.
um, but yeah, it's not required because I would talk to other people in other states and everything. I always went the extra mile. I did. I've always been like that though. I mean, my best friend growing up had muscular dystrophy. Like, I always was the one to, like, sit down and help people, like, it was just in my nature, I don't know, I guess. So that was
But see,
just
like, I completely agree with Boone's like nickname for you, because it really is, these are the people that are really the unsung heroes of, our lives, because they go the extra step because they care about you, not because it's gonna make them more money or because it's gonna look good for you so they can call you back more often or whatever. But it really is like, the more I talk, is I've been trying to connect with other like local organizations here in my area to promote mental health. And the more I do that, the more I'm like, it's not anywhere. And I'm like, this is a thing that we all as humans experience. So it should be everywhere. But it isn't. It's not part of like training anywhere.
yeah,
And because like you were talking about like why people get promoted in their jobs. And the main reason it's never, or they're a good leader. It's never that. They know how to do these things. No, it's never that. It's like either
No.
we just need someone and you happen to have been working here the longest, or like I really like you, so I'm gonna be your connection to give you like a raise or to promote you to a different position. But a lot of the times you don't even when you do get promoted, there's no training for you. You just have to make it up as you go. And even if you're training another person, you never got training, so it's like the blind leading the blind. And then that's why like retail, like working in retail sucks. Like working in like a bunch of those like low pay jobs is horrible because nobody has any training in anything. And
Yep.
then so like I can see why so many people like decide to leave the cleaning business, because it's exhausting and you don't get any. I bet like you don't really get like in your thing. It should be like mental health days should be a thing, like you get sick days, you get time off or whatever. Like you should have mental health days because it's a really difficult thing to be doing.
On call 24/7, 365.
Dude.
Damn,
I would have
no.
to
So
take days off a month in advance.
damn. See, that was my other thing. And I was like, okay, so I am sort of like way ignorant about the darker side of society
Here
because I
here's
never
the
worked
thing.
there.
You every single that you are the majority. So whenever I would get called to a scene, the people were like, I never even thought of this as a job. I
Mhm.
said, good. I said, good. I wouldn't want you to have thought about this until this moment, you know? And they're like, how do you do it? I was like, better me than you, babe. Better me than you.
Mm,
I can handle it. There's a lot of people who can't. I
mhm.
can. Bring the burden to me.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, but you also
and
need to be taken care of. That's my whole
and
thing. I was like, somebody needs to take care of
that's
you.
that is where, as I mentioned earlier, you saw the personality change.
Mhm.
Um, and that's where I lost some friends, and that's where, well, not only did I lose some friends just because of my scheduling, I was on call 24/7, 365. I could get a call at 3 in the morning. I could get 3 in the afternoon. I could be gone for an hour. I could be gone for a week.
Yeah.
There was no rhyme or reason. So social life.
Mhm.
Um, but then again, there'd be times where I didn't have a job for 2 weeks, and then I was like, "Fuck,
Damn.
what am I gonna do?" Um, you know,
Okay, so let me get into my questions now, because I
why?
am a
Right.
I have
Philosophical
more than that.
time.
I I prepared. No, but like, okay, listen. I'm a scaredy cat. I'm like, I have this conversation with Hope before about how I really love stories, and I'm like curious about like horror stories, but I
Mhm.
don't really want to watch scary movies because I'll be too scared. Like I did an interview with someone, and I was doing the YouTube thing. What is it called? The thumbnail, and I was like, oh yeah. To get more people to watch this, I'm gonna say something about horror, right? Genius. And then I was
Oh no.
looking at the pictures.
Say something
Oh
what? Say something what?
no.
Okay,
Say something
I'm
what?
back.
You
Wait,
said you were gonna say
sorry.
something what?
Oh no, I don't remember exactly
It's
what I
on the
said. Wait, what
thumbnail.
was the
Think of
last?
more listeners.
The
Oh, the
thumbnail,
thumbnail.
you were
Okay,
gonna do
so I did the thumbnail, right?
and
And then I was like,
ADHD and lagging don't go together.
um and I was like, well, I'm going to add like something horror because it's like more interesting and people will like click on it, right? And I was like, genius. And then I was looking at the pictures that were available on Canva, and I was like, yeah, this is a good one. No, it doesn't really go with like the color scheme of whatever I had. And then I was like, no, not that one. And the more I scrolled down, I was like, these are really scary. And I was like, and it was kind of dark outside, and I was like, I'm gonna go with a dog and a sheet because that's not scary.
That's
so,
funny.
I was
so
wondering
I'm
why you
like,
picked that one for your YouTube thing. I was wondering.
because I was like, no, that's not scary. I can look at this one, and
Uh,
then like, as I was watching this movie, I was like, okay, listen, I like the scariest thing for me. after spiders is ghosts, because you can like run away, you can fight back someone trying to get you, but a ghost, yeah, there's nothing, you're doomed. That's it. You know your life gone. You crazy. I don't know. There's nothing you can do
You
about
can't fight
ghosts.
back with a
so,
fucking ghost.
so whenever I
Okay.
think about like creepy like places and like horror, I'm like, oh, is it like someone who is like, like killing other people? Okay, that's not so bad. But if it's like a ghost, I'm like,
Oh,
oh,
just a
that's really
murderer. It's
scary.
fine.
Yeah, because I can do something about that. What am I supposed to do about a ghost? So my question to you is, like, did you ever like just get scared about ghosts whenever you went there? Because okay, so like I guess to preface this, like I'm Mexican, so we have this
Mm,
like belief about death, like a very cultural thing where the place where the person died, we usually put a thing because we believe it. We don't like honor them in some way, then their ghost sort of like get their spirit gets stuck in that area, and they're able to move on to a different place. So that's why I'm asking because I'm like, this is like way outside of like not only my culture but like my understanding of job.
No, that is a very valid and good question. Because of that, um, we saw a difference in, like, not gonna lie, rarely did we have any Asian or Hispanic families call us
that makes
because
sense to
of
me. Yes.
traditional values. We had more like African American, we had more white, we had more, like, or if we did, it was like many generations in. It wasn't, um but it came down to personal preference. Again, some people were just like, "Oh, it's just another job, whatever." But like other for me, it was like some places like, "Okay, cool, another job." And other places I'd be like, "Wow, there's some real bad juju here."
Mm-hmm.
You know? And that comes down to personal preference. There legit has been times where I like had a smudge stick back when I'd get home
Good.
and I was like, just in case if anything followed me, like um and I am not religious, but uh so usually when people use like smudge sticks, they'll like quote like the Bible verse or some shit. And but instead I would do Yumogwagwai Fide Sao, uh, which is from Jackie Chan Adventures. And it literally means like begone devils, begone evil, begone spirit. Um so I would do the uncle from Jackie Chan
I saw
Adventures
a meme about that.
with my smudge stick, and I would just be like, "Yumo gua gua fi di jiao, yumo gua gua fi di jiao." Again, that was my own spirituality. That's my own shit.
I love it.
Um, so that was me. Uh, then, but like my friend Kevin, he was very like paganistic. So
Mm.
he would have like white magic he would delve into to like protect himself. Then you'd have other people who are just like, y'all are nuts, and just like dive into it not caring, so everybody has their own belief.
I'd be so scared. Okay, okay. This is slightly off topic, but adjacent to. Have you guys ever been in a situation where, like, you're like, I think I just saw a ghost or
um
spirit?
not seen a ghost or spirit, but there has not I have, but not through work.
Oh, okay.
Not through work.
Wait,
um
tell us, tell us, tell us.
another time, gotta leave clickbait for another time. uh,
Fine.
And I'm like, yeah, because I remember being like young and like I don't know. Every time like my mom's side of the family would get together, for some reason somebody would start talking about ghosts and spirits and so saw this, and when I was young I felt, and then I was like, I was so scared to go to sleep at night, but I was like, yes, tell me the stories, I want to know, but then I was scared. And now I have Canelo, and I'm like, Canelo, come over here. There was this one time where I was like, okay, it was quite recently where I found this it's like a podcast on YouTube where they talk about like crimes that were committed, and a lot of it
Mhm.
are like, super horror and gory and horrible. But I really like them because the person who was doing them is reading it for the first time, so you just sort of get to react with the person at the same
Mm.
time. And so
Okay.
it was great. But then like I binged so many of those, and then I was alone in my house, and then I'm like, what if someone is outside looking at it? I was like, Canelo, come here. And then I would be doing dishes and I'll be listening to the thing, but I needed my dog to be right there because I was like, I don't want to be by myself.
Mm.
Oh my
uh
Yeah.
goodness.
so yeah, but I love these like stories. But like now, like thinking about it, it's like one thing that got me mad about the movie though is like in the
Yeah.
opening scene, the cops that were like super like, oh my gosh, we're spending so much money on cleaning up after this guy. And then I was like, poor guy, like what if he was going through something? Like they just basically like detach themselves from like any sort of like
So
humanity in that situation. And I felt like that's part of like survival, but also not bueno,
what
like no, not good.
well, that I can kind of get because I would also have to put myself in those shoes. It's a
Hmm.
defense mechanism. It is. Um, just like how, like in World War II, they would have nicknames for the enemy,
Mm-hmm.
to
Yeah,
to
dehumanize.
dehumanize
Yeah.
so they could
Hmm.
do what they did. Um, so yeah, that's typical. So I get it. And again, that's another reason I lost friends because I would be so blunt
Mm.
when it came to like my personal life. I was very blunt with this stuff. I'd be like, "Oh yeah, some died dude. This dude died. Blah blah. Blah. I don't care. Whatever. Blah blah blah." I'd be like, "Oh, and I fucking missed my lunch that day. Fuck." And they're like, "You just said a guy died." I'm like, "Okay," and like
Mm.
that's just a day for me. Um,
Hmm.
I was like, "I just really wanted my fucking sandwich," like it's a defense mechanism. Um, so as to an outsider, I have to put myself back in those shoes. Like, something similar happened to me at work the other day where I said something and they're like, "That's really fucked up, Hope." And I'm like, and I was like, "Why is it fucked up?" And then I like took a step back and I was like, "Oh shit." And then I was like, "I'm talking to normies." Uh, so I had to like backtrack and be like, "This," like, so
Okay,
it's a fine line, yeah. It sucks, but
I have another question.
of
Do you
course
ever
you do.
use Coke?
Like Coca-Cola to clean.
Oh god, I was like, for late nights? Uh,
I on purpose didn't clarify. I was like, I want to see how she reacts.
You're
But
mean.
I mean Coca Cola. Yeah,
no.
I heard
Oh,
it's effective.
it's not standard practice.
It's not, uh, CDC, FDA, SDS approved. No. Just no.
All right, fine, fine. All right, listen. Because you have experience with this, like, do you have like recommendations of like the best cleaning products we could use? I'm not saying for like crime scenes and stuff, just like in general
Just to
Don't
get
use
blood
for my
out
bleach.
and stuff,
house.
probably.
Don't use bleach.
Like in general?
That's everyone's, what they say. "Oh, I'll just use bleach." Don't use bleach.
Why?
The I could tell you I've used bleach on one hand, and it wasn't for crime scenes. It was for, like, MRSA and C. diff cases because we had to kill a bacteria.
Oh,
Because not only did we do, like, crime scene and biohazard, but we did, like, C. diff cases. My team was actually, like, one of the first 3 teams in the US to do a COVID case.
nice.
Oh
Um,
wow.
we set, like, the standards and practices for that, and, um So we did more than just that. So like that would be the only time we ever used bleach was like for C. diff cases because that is literally the only thing that can kill that bacteria, that virus. Uh, but don't use bleach. One, it leaves a unseen residue
Oh.
on the surfaces, so it's not fully technically cleaned. You're cleaning the bacteria, but you're not cleaning the area, if that
Okay,
makes
that makes
sense.
sense. Yes.
Mm.
Um, so that's a big thing, and that's why everyone says, "Oh, I'll just grab bleach and dump it everywhere." I was like, okay, well, for your personal house, whatever, cool, but like, let's say something happened and you want to get away with it. Um, they can actually pick up at residue under certain light. And if you have a lot of splotches with bleach, they're gonna be like,
Oh.
what's with all the bleach spots there?
Mm-hmm.
Crime
um,
scene.
Mm-hmm.
typically, what we say is get a degreaser to get the initial biohazard out. Then we get a disinfectant. And then after the disinfectant stage, we do a deodorizer. And then we just do like a dry clean. Um, now, there are some times where we just have to just take out. Like, there's been times it's went through the floor. I've had to like cut up floorboards. I've had to go through to the foundation. I've had to go through the walls. And we just have to like literally just take it out. It's beyond cleaning.
Mm.
Like with woods, no, we just gotta take that shit out because it's porous material. There's no way to be 100% effective with porous material because it seeps through. Can't have that. We had to be at a 0% bacteria rate. We would test it. We had swabs and mechanism. We had to be at a 0% bacteria rate for that area before we could leave. Fun fact, hospitals can be up to 400% bacteria in any area. So we had to be at 0.
That's my contribution to the podcast.
No, I was okay.
Think
So
about
I
that the
listen.
next time you go, folks.
No, listen, because like,
You
so I
can eat
listened
off
to a
my
VTuber.
shit.
Like, okay, I was listening to this VTuber, and she was saying like that's basically what she said. She said like if you need a procedure done at the hospital, get out as soon as you can because the longer you stay, the more at risk you are to
Yes.
get infected
That's
by
why
something
there's
else. Because
so many sepsis
yeah,
cases.
Yes. Yes.
yeah.
Love it.
Do do you have a question, Boone? Since Elizabeth has been.
No, I appreciate. Oh, okay. I like it when she has her questions. They're thoughtful. They're curious.
No,
Well,
I
I,
love
I
it
have
too.
I
But
have one more question, and this one's like for the both of you. Actually, before Boone goes,
what's your
hold on,
question?
hold on.
Come
It's my
on.
last one. It's my last one.
Fucking done, dude.
My last one. My last one. Why?
Yes.
No,
I
no.
knew it. I knew it. I knew it. I knew
No,
it.
no, no. My question is okay, so I have listened to this podcast, right? They talk about like crimes and stuff. Hope you have a bunch of experience with this thing. If you were to do something quote unquote outside of the law, what percentage are you sure you can get away with it?
What the heck?
Um, I plead the fifth. Safe.
No, number. We need a number.
I plead
98%,
the
95.
fifth. I plead the fifth.
It's kind of like Dexter, who knows certain things
The
and like,
fifth.
yeah, like you know the ins and outs of things, so you can get away.
No. Yeah. I always make
All
that
right,
joke
all
with
right.
my.
Let me just change my question, but I'm gonna come back to you, Boone, because I want to know your answer. Okay, uh, how hard do you think it would be to get away with it?
With what? What is it?
It, stuff us out of the law. crime.
Uh, uh, what kind of are we talking about a bank heist? Because that's a whole other thing. Like,
I mean,
No,
white collar
you
crime
know,
is easier to get away with, by the
somebody need
way.
to be sleeping with the fishes tonight. Kind of
Oh,
crime.
that kind? Yeah, you see here.
uh,
um,
uh,
again, pleading the fifth.
yeah. You don't want
No,
to
I'm
know
saying
how
like
much
how hard do you think it would be? Because
for me,
my thing is that
for me,
for the average person,
or
because I
in
feel like we're all
oh,
like
for the
I
average person.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
I
yeah.
have also a background in martial arts and gymnastics, which helps me. Just saying. Um,
Okay, you're not Batman, you're Catwoman.
Oh.
for the average person, for the crimes, the, whenever something like major did happen, it's usually uh would be caught because they were just dumb. It was usually heat of the moment type situations. They'd be caught. They don't think. They leave trails. They leave evidence.
Mm,
People know who did it. It there's a lot of I mean, there's a lot of evidence left behind that they don't even realize. There's a lot
mm,
of evidence.
Mhm.
So much so that I've had to let officers know in previous cases, like, y'all missed that. You want to come back before I clean anything else and be incriminated? Thanks.
mm, mm.
So,
I would not be able to get away with it. I can't lie to save my life. I'm also too scared to do anything because I'll just overthink it.
that's why
So
you call me. I didn't say anything. I didn't say shit.
No, I was talking to my siblings the other day because I was watching that podcast, and I think there was one like case where they were discussing how, like it was like a family member or something who went like all this through all these struggles to be able to solve, the crime of
Mhm.
who killed the sibling or whatever. And then I turned to my siblings and I was like, excuse me, if something happened to me, would you avenge me? And then they were like, nah, too much work. And I was like, we don't know how to do it. And I was like, you call Hope. She'll help you. I was like, but you avenge me. You go after them. You get even.
Yes. Yes. Oh shit.
So yes. So I'm gonna share your phone number
I'm
with them so they can contact you in case.
No,
Just in case.
I'm now I switch topics real quick. I'm curious what your question for Boone is.
Well, the same questions, like what percentage do you think you could get away with it?
Dogs don't think I can get away with it. Nope. Nope.
Canelo is like, uh-uh.
Listen, the baby doggo is on my bed, and Canelo's like, I can't go up there because you're there. That's why he's crying.
Aw, poor pups. Um,
He's the bigger dog. Like, I like just jump up there. Like the bed is so big, but he's like, no, he's up there. I can't. Jeez.
Oh gosh.
that's cute. Um, I think I could research and plan pretty well. I don't think I'd be the one to
Especially
execute.
Boone's like this silent, devious person. Like you don't expect her to do it, but she's like the true mastermind. That's the vibes I get.
Don't actually
It
call it
would
that.
you know what I picture? If we all got together to do this one thing, I feel like you guys would know all the info and then you guys would just send me out there and be like, hey, go talk to that person. And I'll be like bait for people and I'll be like, hey, how's it going? Like, and I will have no idea what like crimes you guys be committing on the sides.
you
I'll just be
you
like, yeah, it's just a job.
You're the equivalent of like Tom Holland, how they like can't give
yes.
him the script
Yes.
beforehand because he'll leak it.
Hmm. Yeah.
That's you. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
but I have questions for you ladies.
Okay.
Oh,
So
okay.
in the movie, how the Did it throw you by surprise that there were so many things, like, when but your first reaction when they went to, like, their first job, and they, like, threw out the mattress and all that, what was your first gut reactions to that? Because they're
Ew, she
again,
fell on
they
the mattress.
yeah, that's what I'm saying, like, what was your first, like, gut visceral reactions? Because I know what mine was.
Hmm.
Well, I was like analyzing the whole thing and I was like, they wouldn't just get the job. Like they would check like certifications and stuff, right? Like this is all illegal.
Not
And then I was like,
necessarily.
wait, because I've seen some videos and I was gonna ask you, Hope, like I think you should do one of them videos where you're just watching like like a scene and then you're like, nah, that's wrong, that's
Oh,
wrong, that's wrong.
react, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Because I seen some videos like that and I'm like, I'm pretty sure this is all wrong, everything that they're doing. So that was that's what I was thinking like the whole time. And then like, ew, she fell on the mattress.
Mhm.
What
I
about you,
guess
Boone? What was, like
I'm not averse to blood and stuff like that. So, um, history wise, I'm have a lot of like hoarding and like bio stuff too in my family system. So I'm used to it. And I used to work in a
yeah, we did a
daycare,
lot of hoard jobs.
so like a lot of poop,
Yeah.
a lot of
Yep.
blood, a lot of throw up, vomit, a lot of body stuff with babies. And so like similar thing, but not because they're living. um, but
Right.
the thing I was thinking about was like, wow, they must be so desperate. Like it's so sad to
Mm.
need that. It's like you'll take anybody, whatever you need to get it done because you want to erase that memory, the pain, the
Yep.
visibility of it. And then um it did make me so when I did work in daycare, I would wash my hands like 200 times a day. And so it made
Yep.
me feel that ick a little bit of my compulsion to clean and sterilize all the time. And it didn't make me
Mhm.
feel good. So I remember that feeling of like when you're in that place where you have to stay clean for the sake of public safety, I was just very angry. Like I started feeling
Yeah.
icky and like very angry at them for like not having any protocols in place. So like freaking no gloves or anything, not nothing. Like you're just wearing your normal clothes.
No
What are you
P
doing? Yeah.
yeah, no
Mhm,
PPE,
mhm.
Yeah.
nothing. That was I was on the same wavelength as you, Boone, for that first scene. I was like, forget the fact that they didn't have proper disposal procedures, whatever. Like, my thing was the PPE.
Hmm.
I was like, "That's fucking gross."
Yeah, it's disgusting.
Like, not like, like, no gloves, no masks, no, like, change of clothes even.
Hmm.
Uh, like, cause that's what I would do. I'd have, like, my uniform, it was, like, the shirt with the company logo and, like, khakis, and that's, like, when I would meet with the customer or the client, and then I would change into, like, gym shorts and a tank top, and then I would put my hazmat suit on, my gloves, my all that, and my mask,
Hmm.
um, so it was like they didn't even have a change of clothes, like,
Yeah.
ugh.
So that's part that bothered me too. Like there was this level of not respecting the space or the people, the job itself, because they were not that prepared. I was like, it's like no, not even knowing what you're getting into. We're just like, I'm just gonna wing it. I know this is easy. It's just cleaning. Anybody can do this. And so like again, the lack of respect for getting into a job like this. But I'm glad to see that they could learn to have that level of respect and seeing how profound it can be to work in this field. But like in the beginning, it was just a big hot mess, and I was just like very upset. It's like you're harming
Mhm.
people. I know it's just a movie, but like technically, you can harm people with that mindset when you go into a job like that.
And
But yeah,
not
I
even
mean,
that, yeah, but you can harm because of biohazard in of
Hmm.
itself. If it's
Yeah,
not cleaned properly,
yeah.
that
Public
can last, like,
infections.
that can
Ugh.
yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly, because you don't know because bloodborne there's such a thing as bloodborne pathogens. If it's not cleaned up properly, there's things that can last minutes, there's things that can last weeks.
Mm.
There's things that, like I had to get vaccines when I started, for the HEPs and all that, as precaution. And um, they had no sharps containers. What if they were
Oh
diabetic and
shoot.
had needles everywhere?
Hmm.
What
Yeah.
if,
mhm.
what if there's broken glass? You need to put glass in a sharps container. There's you know, you need to have biohazard bags, you need to have biohazard boxes, it's the fact that they were not prepared. Yeah. So it
But
was
I think
so yeah.
it sort of reminds me of when like you start a job for the first time and you have no idea, because you just first walk in and then you're like, I have an idea, like the idea that I have of what Hope does, solving crimes and stuff in her job.
Bed.
Um, and then, but then, like, this is why it's so necessary to get that specialized training, right? Or to
Mhm.
have someone who is sort of there for you. And, like, I honestly shipped that guy at the store, the cleaning store, and
I
her at the end. I was like, they
know.
were
So
just so cute,
sweet.
and he was just so nice. I thought he was gonna be like when she was like, "Do you like cats?" She was so weird, and I was like, "Oh, he's done." But he was so nice, and he said like, study these and
Mhm. Mhm.
do stuff. And then I'm like, yeah, everyone needs to have someone like that. It doesn't matter what job you're doing because we all need some sort of guidance in order to like do your job better and to have the proper respect for the job,
Yep.
and also for ourselves because sometimes we are willing, like this comes at all often with I know a lot of people who are here without any residency or illegally technically, and then so
Mhm.
a lot of those people, in order to make a living, they are very willing to take pretty much any job for any pay. And sometimes I'm like, no,
Yep.
you are a valuable person, like don't do that to yourselves, like
There's there's times I've
don't.
seen at other places where they
Mhm,
were like might have been like as you were saying like illegal aliens or residents, and they were part of like the custodial services. And there's times I've like passed by and they're like cleaning up biohazard. I'm like, that's not your job. You don't do
Mhm.
that. Stop. Oh, and they're like, no, I have to clean. I was like, no, 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 no. I'm registered to do this. Like, I would rather myself do this. Like, I'm looking out for you.
mhm,
I'm not like saying you're doing a bad job. I'm not saying anything. I was like, I am concerned about you. you know, this is not what you should be doing. And there's a lot of places like that where they're put in that position and
Mhm.
it's awful because they
mhm,
don't
mhm.
know. They don't know the rules and regulations or like companies try and work around it.
Mhm.
Cuz yes, we can be expensive. Not going to lie. Um for a cuz we'd have to have a biohazard bag and another bag in a box and we'd send those boxes to the incinerator to be disposed of. For a like 2 by 3 or 2 by 2, uh, like a 2 by 3 box, um, like 2 feet by like 3 feet tall, like 2 feet, yeah, 3 feet tall, like 2 feet wide, whatever, for one box. And it can't be over a certain weight either. You can't just like make each box 500 pounds. Um, for one box we disposed of, it's an average of $500 just for one box.
Mm.
So
Wow.
yeah, that in and of itself, that's another thing people don't realize. Like, yeah, okay, they sent it to the incinerator. I'm like, for us to give it to them to be incinerated is $500. Imagine if I needed like 10 boxes for biohazard. Like, that's a lot of
No, but
fucking
it makes
money.
me
And that's
think
and
now.
that's just in disposal, not even my time, not products.
Mhm.
That's just disposal.
It's wild.
You know what you should start? You should start your own business where you like just advocate for people in these situations and be sort of like a liaison between the families and the cleaning businesses. Because like part of the reason why I did this panel, that Boom was a part of, like why therapy is so expensive, is because we don't understand why we need to set those rates. But once you look behind the curtain, then you understand like, oh well, they have a bunch of student debt and they also need to make a living,
Yeah.
and like in order to be able to do this all this cost that is included as well. So that's why therapy has to be so expensive. And I think sometimes, like you mentioned earlier, like there's families who prefer to do their own sort of clean because it was a family member or whatever, for whatever cultural reason that they have. Sometimes they might not fully understand the risks that they're
Yep.
taking, or like how to do the things. Like maybe it's just like you were saying, like just use bleach kind of thing. So I think it's important for people to understand that too. Like yes, it might be pricey, but there's a reason why it's pricey. It's not just because
Mhm.
we're trying to make a lot of money. Some
Mhm.
people might be doing that, but not everyone is like that.
And I mean, yeah, like it is a business. We did need to get profit,
Yeah.
like, and it's honestly why I left the company partially why I left the company I did, because they were increasing prices at an astronomical rate. And I'm like, okay, I get increasing prices, but this is way beyond. Um,
Mhm.
just was insane. It was like the equivalent of when you go to the hospital and they charge you like $50 for one Advil type of deal.
Yeah.
Like I was like, this is getting too
Wow.
much, man. This is getting too much, man. Not happy with this. Um, but uh but not
The
everything's like a giant company like how I was involved with. Perfect example. I actually want to give a shout out to a girl, Amber, who I met through that job that I had. She left the company just as I did, but she created her own company, just like the Sunshine Cleaning Girls.
Mhm.
She made her own company. She's based in California,
Yeah.
and she's known as Reaper Clean. So, her thing is Reaper Clean is on the scene. Uh, she she is the most amazing girl, like one of the most amazing girls I know. She takes the job very seriously. She does so much advocation work. She does a lot of events. She does a lot of suicide awareness. Um, if anybody were to start her own business, I would say Amber
Hmm.
was the perfect person. And Amber, I'm waiting for you to franchise. Hint, hint, wink, wink. Uh, but
From
um,
coast to coast, yeah.
yeah. Um, no, but like she would be the perfect person to reach out to. Like in California, again, Reaper Clean. I adore her. She is one of the best advocates. Like I met her through the job, and I also still keep in touch with her as well. I adore her. She's like me. She's very compassionate. She knows her shit, and she's compassionate. Like again, best person for the job, hands down.
My siblings also might need their phone number just in case something happens to me and they need to avenge me. So just let me text me her info, all right?
Okay.
Just in case. Just in case.
Okay. Okay,
Who
right
are
on
you
that.
hanging out with where this is gonna happen just in case?
Nobody, I don't leave my house. You guys are my only friends.
I was gonna say, like, when you do presentations at the library, like,
Making
it was
enemies.
a horrible mugging at the library yesterday. Stole all the free books, and Elizabeth was caught in the
Hey,
middle.
listen, people might get upset because I talk about self care, on mental health. Maybe
How
they're
dare
like,
you?
don't talk to me about that. I don't care, like, I
I
don't know.
wanna
It
be
may
fucked
happen.
up.
I was born this way. Yeah.
My god. I love all these, like, scenarios you're putting yourself in. Like
Perfect. Perfect response.
Listen, I need to be prepared for every situation, all right? So now I know. In case I go missing, I have my because I was like, geez, okay, if I go missing, I'm gonna have to tell you what to do. I'm not even gonna be here. And I was like, I need to be prepared because my siblings need to be told what to do. Otherwise, my like, I'm gonna be missing for like forever. No,
oh my
no,
god.
that's not.
So done. So done. Is Boone allowed to ask more questions, Elizabeth, or
Yeah, yes, that was my last question.
for now?
Um,
Yeah.
I don't have questions. I have comments actually.
Oh, yeah, go for
Ooh,
it.
share.
So you know how I think about things in terms of like archetype work. Um,
You?
yeah, a little bit. It's just okay, fine, whatever. So I'm thinking about how first responders are being tested, right? So you're in the shadows of society, you're in the dark realms, in the corners where most people don't deem to go because that's just not where they're supposed to be. But to make life function, we need the decomposers and the people that clean up, make things nice and neat, right? Um, you're the ones who are more flexible, more capable of going into the shadow of the collective psyche. So when that happens, you are being tested. That's why, like, I felt it too when I worked in county. I got the dark sense of humor. I hate
Mm.
society so much. This is so fucked up that we're doing this to each other, right? We get there, we
Yep.
go there. But the test is to get back, push through so we can go back into the light, right? And so some of us don't
Mm-hmm.
make it. The turnover is so damn high, right? people get burnt out because you're being tested again and again, and sometimes it's too much at one time, you can't handle it, different reasons. But for those of us who can stay in that darkness while being light in that darkness, it is an ultimate sign of like, you know, where your archetypal work is supposed to be. You you accomplished something great, and I want to tell that to you and also anyone else who is a first responder, because it's such, like Liz said, it's this work that nobody sees. You do it
Yeah.
without any recognition all the time, and it can feel it can feel sucky. It can feel like, I give so much, I
That
care, and I love that you're able to allow us to interview you and just share a little bit more. Like, we'll never know the scope of what you do or what have you've done, but at the same time, I think this will help with that gratitude of people having more perspective of like, you're living in your own world above this surface of like reality. If you could just open your eyes and see the darkness of the things that people have to suffer through, and then things that have to get cleaned up to make the world function, you'd have more gratitude and kindness for people who just doing the things that they do. We're just trying to make it. Whatever job you have, we're just trying to do the best at that. It's a lot.
yeah. To bounce off of that, Boone, myself and Kevin, whenever we would interview someone for a new position, I was like, I don't care your background. The major question we would always ask is, how is your home life?
Mm,
Mm.
good question.
I was like, how is your home life? Because this job is stressful. You are on call. You're not going to have too much of a social life. You know, do you have a good support system? Whether it's a parent or a loved one or a friend or, like, how is your home life? Because if it's not good, I'm sorry, I'm not going to hire you. And it has nothing to do against you, but I'm looking out for you. I
Mhm.
was like, if you have a shit home life, this is not the place to be. Sorry. It's not like you'd like go to a 9 to 5 at like a retail and like, yeah, it sucks. I've done retail, it sucks, but you're not going to be put through that situation. You could still go home to like a crap life and be okay,
Mhm.
but I was like, if your home life's not good, I'm sorry, I'm not going to hire you. Like, you have to have something truly stable. And not to say that I was stable, but like, um when I first started, I had a room, like, I wasn't dating anybody or anything, but like I had a really, really, really good roommate. Um they were like my best friend, and I was like, and if I came home upset, they would be like, without me asking, they'd have like a beer on the table right waiting for me, like, and I appreciated that. Um or cuz I have two dogs. I've had them way longer than I started this job. My girl Tina, she was a great roommate, and I'd be like, "Hey, I'm gonna be gone for like 5 days,"
Mm.
and she's like, "Don't worry about the dogs. I got you." You know, um, or if just little things like that, and it really does make a difference. And if you don't have that, it's so bad. So I to bounce off of that, like it's really important to know yourself, your archetype, to know like where you stand, because if you don't, you're gonna get real fucking messed up real
Mhm.
quick.
Yeah.
And that's again with
But
the high turnover rate.
but I think that's great advice, not only for this specific job, for any job in
Mhm.
general.
Yes.
Like, the more you understand yourself and your reactions and like your innate sort of abilities and um you know just habits, it's gonna be a lot easier for you to understand and to find the job that you really want and that fits you so well. um and I have another question, actually. What
I
would you
knew
say, because
it.
you say that you like, because like just the more you speak, the more I'm like, let me give me more information. Okay, but okay, so
Tell me
you did it for
more,
so
tell me more.
you did it so many years. What would you say is the one thing that you learned that you will never forget, that you still sort of like think about to this day while you were in the
Mm.
job?
I Oh, that's tough because there's so many different aspects. Um, The biggest thing I would say is, uh, well, I don't know about learning, so to say, but it's affected me, like, I know, perfect example, because again, I did more than just crime scenes. I did COVID, I did hoarding, I did, like, C. diff, all these jobs. Um, Liz, I was just talking to about this with you just yesterday, was how I was like, "Oh, I go through my house and I clean it out like every 2, 3 months. I just purge. I purge, I purge, I purge." I'm a big minimalist. And I know I was like, "Hey Liz, do you want like these action figures and shit for your nonprofit? Like here." And you're like, "Yes." But to me, like, um, I don't like to have a lot of things.
Yes.
And that stuck with me from um, like hoard houses from,
Yes.
and not even just that,
I
but
relate.
like even like like I, it sucks, but it doesn't. Like I love books. I loved books.
Mhm.
Um, Here's the thing: if you're in a decomp situation, even if the biohazard hasn't touched the physical books, books are porous materials.
Oh no.
It's the smell gets attached to the books. We have to throw out all those books. So, like, luckily, we can just throw those, like, in the dumpster because they haven't physically been touched by the biohazard, but the smell, same thing with clothes. If it's been left around the decomp smell long enough time, it's stuck, it's trapped. Like, you can't save that because it's porous. You just can't save it. You just have to get rid of it. So, as much as I love books and everything, I've switched to like ebooks a lot more, or like my manga I read on like Shonen Jump app. Um, so shout out to Shonen Jump for having the app. Yay. Um, um, Not a sponsor. Please sponsor me. But, but yeah, and it's just I've become super minimalistic because of that. Because I think like, "Oh, what happens if I have, like, a brain aneurysm and I die and, I'm left?" Like, I don't want someone to have to clean up my house for 10 days because they're just getting rid of shit, you
Same.
know?
Same wavelength. Yep.
Um, I've become such a minimalist because of that. So that's stuck with me.
Would you
Um
say, because I've been thinking about this a lot. So I love books and I love collecting things, but I sort of like stopped myself from collecting anything because I was moving because of school for like so many times that I was like, there's no point in me collecting anything. And now that I have more of a stable place to stay for far longer, I'm like, okay, I'm finally gonna start collecting the things, but I limit myself to the things that I really, really love. Otherwise, I'm
Yes.
gonna be collecting everything. But then
Yes.
I was looking at my books the other day and I was like, it just makes me a little bit sad that once I finish reading them, it's very likely I'm never going to go back to reading them again. And I'm like,
Mhm.
well, I can lend them to like my friends, make it like a mini library and like, share books
Mhm.
and stuff. But again, like sometimes we don't think about, I think there's like this connection, right? And I think you both sort of understand because of that minimalism, you have more of an in-depth understanding of what you truly value in life, and it
Yes, my
isn't.
Legos.
Yeah, and then so you have like you only have like the things that you truly value, right? Because a lot of the times we're like, oh, maybe it's just me with my ADHD brain, but sometimes I'm like, oh, this little sticker, I love this sticker. I will never get rid of this sticker. And then 2 months later, I'm like, I hate the sticker, But like those are the things that we're like, you can be impulsively like buy something or get something, and then we don't think about like, oh, is this gonna be helpful? Like, do I really need this? We're just kind of like, yes, buy more things. Oh, it's on sale. We have to buy it,
Now
and it's a very like consumeristic sort of like
yeah.
culture, really.
Don't get me wrong, I have my certain things. Obviously, like, I love Legos, like, that's a childhood thing. Um, a big thing for me, I love kitchen stuff. I love to cook, I love to bake. So, like, I think my kitchen probably has more things than the rest of the entirety of my house. Um, but, like, a lot of things that I like to get, like, I have friends, they'll go to conventions, they're like, "Oh, do you want me to get you anything?" I'm like, "No, no, no, I'm okay, like, I don't want anything." When I go to conventions, I get photos or I get, like, autographs.
Mhm. Mhm.
'Cause worst case, I can just, like, throw those in a book, be good to go. You know, it's,
Mhm.
and it's like a memory, like,
Yeah.
and I also have, like, a message from the person. It's not like a little action figure, like, don't get me wrong, I also have my Kit Fisto shrine in the background, but, you know, it's everyone has their little vice.
Mhm.
Like, I I am nowhere near the perfect minimalist, whatever, but yeah, it definitely makes you think, you know? There's been times where I've been in a store and I'm like, "Oh, I like this," and then, like, before I hit the register, I'm like, no," and I put it back, you know?
Mhm.
Um, but that's a big thing I took with me was hoarding. The one thing I've always said, um, is, like, when I go into scenes and they're like, "Oh, it's so gross," I'm like, "I'd rather deal with the decomp than, like, hoarding." And they're like, "Really? Why?" And I was like, the one thing I always say is you cannot control how you die, but you can control how you live. And hoarding is a control factor of living, not dying. You can't hoard shit after you die, you know? You do that while you're living. Now, if someone goes in and has a heart attack and decomps or whatever, you can't control that. You can't control that your body has decomposed and made a mess. You
Mhm.
cannot control that. So I was like, I would rather go into that than like a hoard situation. Not to mention it's just a fucking pain in the ass, not gonna lie, like, goddamn, it's a pain in the ass. But like, you know, and that's what I tell people, I'm like, "You can't control how you die. You can't control the fact that you came to life, you can't control the fact that you die. You can control everything in between, though, to an extent, obviously." Um, but yeah, so I that's the one thing I've always said to people.
Ugh, now you're making me wanna go through all my stuff and figure out what I actually wanna
Dude,
keep.
there's so many
Can't
times
cope.
there's so many times I've had friends, like, have me come over and they're like, "Help me purge."
Love it.
Dude, I when my parents moved from Maryland to Florida, like, my dad was a like, kind of a hoarder, and my mom was like, "Your dad's out of the house. Throw his stuff away. Do it." And I just, like, chucked so much shit. I donated so much shit, and he just coming back, he's like, "Oh, looks good." And I was like, "You have no idea what I did you? Ha." You know, like
No, but it does happen. I think I had this, I took a class. It was in class. It was a workshop or whatever it's called, doesn't matter. But they're talking about how our ancestors, or they were talking about like Aztec beliefs, I think, and they said something about like the seasons, like each season has like a part that they play, like in the year, and then that got me thinking, and now I think about it all the time because sometimes I'm like. I'm really tired. Not like I need to rest. So then I just think to myself, oh, well, this is my season to rest, right? I don't have to be productive
Mhm.
all the time because I'm just going to go, like, I'm just going to do burnt out, right? And then there's a thing that I've been, because my parents are obviously getting older, and like the older that we get, I think the older that they realize they're getting, and because we don't need them as much, and because I'm like, stop working, like you should, like I'm telling them all these things, because of their age. And then there's this sort of like acceptance that has to come with aging because you're not who you were like 10 years ago. And then so again it's sort of like that cycle of like everything or everyone has a thing. When you were young you had all this energy. When you're older you
Shit,
have
I'm
more
like 30 and
responsibilities,
I'm
whatever.
fucking dying over here. Goddamn, like well, I'm not I'm in my 30s, but, you know, like, shit. I mean, Boone and I have conversations about this all the time. Boone and I will be like, "Oh, I'm dying today." She's like, "Yeah, me too." And I'm like, "Yay, dying." But
But yeah, but it's
that's why
sort
we're
of like a
getting married
part
for
of
free blood
life.
work, right?
My friend and I had a conversation about, was like, maybe we should just get married so we can get health insurance for
No,
each
that's
other.
that's a
Right.
And
thing
they were like,
now.
yeah.
Yeah. No, it's the truth.
Yeah.
This generation.
um
Yeah.
Wait, what was I talking about? So like everything has a season, right? And then so like I think this is like a very like American thing, or maybe it's just like from the movies that I would see like people do like spring cleaning, and then I'm like,
Well,
yeah, I
it
actually like that.
it correlates though, because spring cleaning isn't just like a thing. Like spring is usually the time of recycle, rebirth, renewal, and
Hmm.
that's why, because like you're re rebirthing into a new cycle, and that's why it's like good to do a spring cleaning to like
Hmm.
prepare for. Now I do quarter cleaning. That's just me.
It's not fast enough. The cycle needs to go by faster. 2 times speed. Let's go.
And everyone's like, "Didn't you just like do a purge?" I'm like, "Yeah, but that was like a week ago. It's fine." Uh,
And I think like this is especially like my ADHDs are there. I think maybe we should do the hope cleaning cycle because we need it. Like we get really obsessed with like something and then we forget that we have it and then we go buy more or whatever. So
right.
yeah, having a cleaning cycle that's faster is probably helpful for us. I'm like looking at her in my room. I was like, "Ooh, Hope would not like that. Ooh, that will give her a panic attack over there." And I'm like, "You do not want to see my board game area and my
Well,
like arts and craft supplies."
it's funny because 'cause I'm a minimalist, and my boyfriend, he's, like, borderline hoarder. He loves his knickknacks and shit, and every time I go to his house, I'm like, I have low key have anxiety. Um, but it's good to have that balance, I guess, but every time I'm just like, "You don't need that. That has so much dust on it. You don't fucking need that."
Hmm.
Like
I can tell if you use it or not.
right?
That's my thing, like, because I have a shrine, a Loki shrine. And then I was like, oh, I think I need to clean it. And then I was like, oh, I think it'd be fun to like do a video where I'm just like rearranging or whatever, you know? And then I was like, yeah, because I think for me, what brings me comfort is just seeing them. Because I like they're like right in front of my
Mhm.
desk. Like when
Yeah.
I go to sleep or when like I'm tired or whatever, I'm just look at it and I'm just looking at it like, oh, that's so cool. I love it, and that makes me happy to see all those like little things. But at the same time, I'm like, having a routine or something where like I clean it or something, it's kind of like self-care. You could
Yeah.
turn into self-care because you can either do some meditations along with like the cleaning your collections or just some what's it called, um like reflection time for yourself, like
Mhm.
how's the day been, how's the week,
Yeah.
how's the year gone. Yeah, so it's good. Cleaning is good, y'all. Help come clean my
Yeah,
house.
well, like the God damn it. No, and to tie this all together, like self-care, like with what the 3 of us do is mental health work. Um, like, yeah, a lot of what I used to do was obviously like murder, was decomposition, like you can't help if you had a heart attack or whatever, but like for a lot of like the ODs and like the
Mm.
suicides and everything, like you can reach out, you can get help. It's good to have again, like that home life balance, whether it's a friend, a therapist, a family member, a dog like Canelo. It's good to have somebody there because, like, if all you have is your drugs, you turn true and it gets to OD, or if like you have nothing and you get to that point, um, there's so many outreaches and that's partially why I would give out my number to, like, next to kin or whatever's, because like, somebody just committed this act on themselves and you can't get them back. I'm afraid that you might do the same,
Mhm.
So I
Mhm,
was like, "Reach out to me," whether it's a dumb question, whether it's in depth, or I was like, "And if I can't handle it all, I'll find a resource for you," you know?
mhm.
And that's a big thing. So and that's what I've always said is like, if I can't do it, I'll find a resource. I will. 'Cause I have plenty of access to resources, all over.
Yeah,
Like you
that's why
guys.
yeah, that's why it's so important to communicate with people, right? Like just to ask for help, or have that foundation. Because one thing that I've learned is that sometimes we don't know how to communicate. We don't know how to ask for help because nobody really taught us how to do that.
Mhm,
And then so having someone reach out to us and take the first step, sometimes that makes it a lot easier for us to be able to continue doing that. So if you have a friend or someone who you haven't heard from in a long while, send them a text,
mhm. Reach
or
out.
check
Like,
in.
if you haven't
Yeah, check out how they're
yeah,
doing. Send them a meme. Yeah,
yeah, it doesn't have to be anything,
communicate.
like, crazy. Yeah, just a little nudge, "Hi, you okay?" Mm, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and again and that's why I would say I'm also, like, highly grateful for my, first, work husband, Kevin,
Hmm.
sometimes I didn't have that person and we would be each other's person. You can't even always get that with like coworkers. He and I had like just a special bond. Like I've never
Hmm.
had that with anybody else, not even with other coworkers in the company. It was just a me and him thing, and like we would be each other's rocks sometimes because that's all we had, and we
Hmm.
got what each other was going through, and beyond grateful for that connection. Um,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
in therapy, we've talked about it. I think Boone mentioned it before, where like it's that relationship, with your therapist that can make or break, the therapy. But it's the same thing with like other people. Sometimes, even if the therapist is the best therapist out there, they're not gonna fully understand what you've been through because they don't
Mhm.
know. Like me, I have a completely different idea what Hope does, But like having someone that has been through it, that has like there's just another level of support there. That's why support groups are effective and helpful. So yeah,
Mhm.
reach out if you need it.
Yeah. Do you guys have any other comments or anything you would like to ask or say or anything? Anything? Bueller?
No, I already have my ghost questions for another podcast episode.
Okay. Boone.
I just appreciate this conversation a lot. I know it's going to help a lot of people.
Yeah, and I'm glad I could have this with you ladies. I'm glad I could like divulge a bit more of my life. I'm glad we could debunk some things from the movie. Uh, um, but I mean, just to get a decent basis, like, yeah, check out Sunshine Cleaning. It does definitely focus more on like the family, but like I said, if you don't have a good core system, then
Mhm.
um, but also if there's any questions or comments you would like to ask me or these two ladies about whether it's mental health, whether it's about more gory goodness of the crime scene or more stories, leave a comment down below, let us know, reach out, or just say hi. Hi. I like saying hi. Uh, so,
Yeah, if you've seen
um,
ghosts or spiders, we will also like to hear about those horrible, horrible moments. Yeah, yeah.
yes, according to Elizabeth, yes. Uh,
They're scary, you guys. They're scary.
but yeah, so just subscribe, leave a comment. If you have a question, please, I'm dying to answer questions. But yeah, so I think this might wrap up this today's episode. If you know what, if you want a part two to this episode, let us know. I definitely have stories for days that aren't about ghosties and stuff. Um, so again, thank you, ladies, as always. Love you guys and stay safe out there, everybody, and have a good night.
Bye.